Now, grep is a fully functional regular expression engine, but that means that it can only do the find part, because regular expressions are only defined as an expression that can match some text. What that means is that if we want to do anything more complicated, such as finding and replacing, we'll have to use another tool. That's what we'll talk about today, how to do the find and replace using groups in regular expressions. First, let's review some of the things that we did in the previous lectures. The most basic use of grep is you say grep, pattern, which is the regular expression, and the file over which you're searching. When you are not doing a grep regular expression, you'll instead have to import some library. So in Python, you'll say import RE for regular expression. And in every other language, there will be some corollary to this. They have regular expressions in C++, they have them in Java, they have them in Ruby, they have them in Perl. Perl was the language that popularized regular expressions. So pretty much anywhere you go, you'll be able to find something to do regular expressions. And all of the stuff that we have talked about will pretty much work as long as that particular language has a Perl-like regular expression syntax. And you'll even see that a lot of things that aren't programming language, like Notepad++ or Vim or Emacs, will also have regular expression engines in them. And if you want to search using a regular expression, you can use a literal, you can use something in quotes. This might be less true in programming languages because you'll need to do something special in order to specify that, oh, I don't want to interpret the backslash character or the parentheses character specially. So in Python, you'll want to use a R quote string, and that means that when you have a regular backslash inside, everything will work nicely instead of having to do a backslash. If you want to do a wildcard, then you use a dot character, and if you want to repeat something one or more times, you can use the star. If you want to do a group, you put something in brackets. And you can use ranges inside your brackets using the hyphen character. You can put a caret to negate the things inside the brackets. You can use curly braces if you want to repeat something. And you can use parentheses if you want to make a group. That's what we're going to talk about a lot today, using groups. And in addition to that, the start character, the start of line character is the caret, and the end of line character is the $sign. These will remain useful when you're dealing with find and replace, but the one thing that you have to keep in mind is that in most regular expression libraries in programming languages, they will do the regular expression search over a line. So you won't have any more than the start of line and the end of line. And this is pretty much the same way that grep works. Today, we're going to be talking about referring to previous groups. So when you have something that's in parentheses, that is a group. Then, when you say backslash number, so whether that's \1 or \2 or anything up until \9, that will refer to that group. So if I have, here is group 1 and then group 2, then \1 will refer to the first one, and \2 will refer to the second one. And this is just in order of parentheses. Let's move into some examples now. Since grep can't actually do any replacing, if we want to use regular expressions to do a replace, we'll have to use something else. So here, you can see I made regex.py. Let's open that now. Regex.py is a Python script for doing regular expressions, or for teaching regular expressions at least. So here, we have a few strings that are stored in the variable searchme, which is an array of strings. And they say Sam King Mr., Kawa Cooler Mrs., Sam JJ King. And no, that is not my actual middle name. What we want to do with these strings is we want to change them into some other form. And you can see when we run it that it will change those strings into something else. So if we run regx.py, you can see that we can turn it into something that would be more formal. So instead of Sam King Mr., Mr. King, comma Sam, and it does that for all of the other ones, at least the ones that match the regular expression. And here, if we want to get rid of the middle names, you can see that these remain unchanged, and this one gets rid of the middle names. Let's see how we would code that up. You need to create a pattern, and you can see that these two lines are actually identical in functionality. This line, however, uses a regular string, whereas this uses a regular expression string, basically, a string that will be interpreted literally. You can see two differences between these two strings. The first is that the first string is declared using a double quote, whereas the second one says R and then a single quote, and it's also closed by a single quote. And what that does is means this string is interpreted as a normal string in Python. That means that if Python does something to a character inside the string, then the regular expression engine will not be able to do that, because Python works first. Thus here, if we want to give the regular expression a backslash parentheses character, then up here, we will have to use backslash backslash parentheses, because otherwise this backslash parentheses will tell Python to escape the parentheses character, which is not what we want to do. The replace pattern is a lot more simple. I only had one of them here instead of putting both identical strings, but if we wanted to make this using a single quote, all of these backslashes would just have to be backslash backslash. And you can see that what this does is it finds anything that looks like Sam King, parentheses, Mr., and we did have to have the backslash parentheses because otherwise it would treat this parentheses as a regular expressions group, and we don't want it to behave as a regular expressions group. We want that to behave as a literal parentheses. And what this line does is it says, first take the start of the line, then have a regular expression group that represents anything that is not the space character any number of times. So in other words, this gets you one word. Then have a space, then have another thing that looks pretty much the same. So anything that is one word, so not a space character, any number of times. So that's here. And then backslash parentheses, that will match this parentheses. And then regular expressions group, because you can see that this parenthesis is not escaped. And then anything aside from a closing parentheses character, so we want to match the Mr. inside here without the opening parentheses or the closing parentheses. So we match the opening parentheses literally, the closing parentheses literally, and then have the group of anything except for a closing parentheses character inside here. Then we end the line. When we replace this with \3, \2, comma, \1, that's going to say, first, take the third grouped element, so take the Mr., then take the second grouped element with a space in between them, so then take King, then put in a comma and a space, so we want this to be Mr. King, comma, Sam, instead of Mr. Sam King or something like that. And then we take the first grouped element, so whatever is inside here, so in this case, Sam. And then the rest of this just uses regular Python for loop to go over every element in the array, print out what it was before, and then do the actual regular expression find and replace. What the find and replace does is you say RE, which is the regular expression library, which we had to import at the top. So up here, import RE. Then we say re.sub for substitute. Then the first argument is the find pattern. In other words, the thing that we want to search over. So here, search me has the these arguments that we're searching over, but that will be put in name. And so we're saying we want to search find pattern over name, which in this case is the first element of this. We want to replace it with replace pattern, which is \3 \2 \1. So the first argument to substitute is the pattern that you want to find. The second is what you want to replace. The third is the name or the thing that you're actually searching over. Let's see what that does. So here it does what we wanted it to do. It says it turns Sam King Mr. into Mr. King, Sam. It gets rid of these parentheses because they were not included in our group. In other words, we had them be matched literally, and only the thing inside the parentheses counted. And it reordered everything because instead of saying \1, \2, \3, we said \3, \2, \1. It added in the comma character because we had a literal comma character. This works pretty much the same way that any other find and replace would do. And you can see that it didn't do anything to Sam JJ King because the regular expression didn't match JJ King, because this has 4 words in it, whereas the regular expression that we had only had 3, and this one also didn't have a parentheses anywhere in it, so we matched the literal parentheses character, whereas this did not match any literal parentheses character. So you can see that a regular expression find and replace will only operate when there is in fact something to find and replace. What if we don't want to use every element of a group though? Here, let's go back into the Python file. You can see down here we want to replace Sam JJ King with Sam King. In other words, we don't want to do anything in terms of the JJ. We don't want to replace it with anything. We just want to completely ignore it. And this is only for the case of where there's a 2-word middle name, because we replace it because the find pattern matches twice of this pattern. So what we're doing is we're saying for every name, we find something that looks like 1 word, then another group that starts with $:. When you start a group with $:, that says, yeah, I'm going to treat it like a group, so I can still use the repetition here. But I don't want it to count as \2. I want this one to count as \2. Instead, this is going to be completely ignored. This is called a passive group because it is not actively being used in the \1, \2. If you're not using your regular expression as a find and replace, if you're just using it to find something, then you never need to worry about this. And you always can kind of do some workaround, so you won't ever really need to know this, but it's really helpful if you ever want to use a group, but you don't want it to count in terms of your \1, \2. It's just a little bit cleaner to do this way. And you can see, instead of saying that it starts with a caret and it ends with a $sign, so instead of having to be the whole line, we want this to match anything, even lines that don't directly end with a middle name. We want everything after the middle name to be in our last group. That way when we say \1, this is everything that's before the middle name, and \2 is everything that's after the middle name. And then we do the same substitution that we did up here. So for each name, print out the old name, and then do the substitution, searching through name over the find pattern, which is this, and replacing it with replace pattern. And you can see down here is all of that. So because these don't match, then nothing changes between them. Because this one does match, because it has the double repetition here, then it will match, and because we said \1, \2, and this was ignored because of the question mark colon, then \2 referred to king instead of JJ. So to review, anything that you have inside of parentheses is referred to as a group. You can have multiple groups, and when you do have multiple groups, you can do a replace using \, characters, followed by the number of the group, starting at 1 and going anywhere up to 9. If you want to ignore a group, you just have to start the group with a question mark, colon, and then anything after that counts as whatever is inside the group. But if you have group 1, and then a question mark, colon group, then this will not be group 3, this will be group 2. Find and replace is very powerful, even though you can't use it in Grep, and you can use it in a lot of other programming languages, and you can even use it in some regular text processing tools like Notepad++ or Vim or Emacs, or even things like OpenOffice.org or Microsoft Word. After this video, you know everything that you need to do find and replace using regular expressions. The remaining video is just going to be about some ease of use tools that can help you with Grep or with regular expressions or with find and replace or any of that stuff.